So just recently, I released a single. It was actually the first single that I released this year, 2023. And it was not just me. It was actually a collaboration with a good friend of mine, Daniel G Harmmen. A little bit more about him in a few moments, but I want to share with you my experience and the power of collaboration with somebody else. At least for me, it was an awesome experience. Now, you see me here in my studio with my computer, and Ableton is opened up because I actually mixed this record here on Ableton, which is the very first time that I mix using Ableton, and it was very challenging. But we got it done, and I will leave a link to the record that we released down in the description of this video, so you guys at the end of this video, make sure you guys go check it out. Now, before we get into this topic, I do want to say thank you to today's sponsor, DistroKid. So DistroKid just launched Mixia, and what Mixia is a very fast and easy way to master your music. Now let's face it, a lot of us make music and we feel very confident, comfortable when it comes down to the production, the mixing, but when it comes down to the mastering, it can get very confusing just to be able to compete with some of our favorite artists that's out there. Well, now with the launch of Mixia from DistroKid, it is so easy to master one of your tracks. Now the way Mixia works is as simple of just uploading one of your finished tracks, and now once you've uploaded that track, you're able to play back your track and listen to it in real time. You got your mastered version and your original version, so you can compare how it's sounding once it's mastered, and it's all done in real time. You also have your intensity slider right here, which you can see how intense you want the sound to be or how loud you want it to be. And right here you have your EQ options. How bright do you want your soundtrack to be? Depending on the style of music that you're making, you might want it to sound a little brighter. If you don't really want it to be as bright and want it to sound a little darker and warmer, you can slide over here and listen to the changes in real time, which is awesome. So you're pretty much being involved while you're mastering your track. You don't have to send it out and then just wait a few days later. Like, this is all done in real time. And once you like the sound, you're able to download the mastered version and also just start publishing your track to all streaming platforms right from DistroKid. Now, in order for you to start using Mixia in your DistroKid account, it is $100 per year, but it allows you to upload unlimited amount of tracks. Now, if you're not signed up with DistroKid already, make sure you go down to the link of this video. Save yourself 7% as you sign up. So I believe there's this very powerful movement when it comes down to collaborating with somebody, not just somebody, but somebody that's very different from the style of music you make. Now, if you've been following me for some time, you'll hear the style of music that I put out, sample-based hip-hop music. I enjoy that type of music. I can do those type of beats all day long. Now, the interesting part is that the collaboration that I did was with Daniel G Harmmen. And he's completely different from the style of music that I put out. Now, my background of music, it's boom bap, sample-based music. I do not play no instruments. I do not come from a band. I don't know how to work with others in the same room. I'm a solo artist or a solo producer. But Daniel is completely different from what I'm used to. And here's a little bit about Daniel himself.
Yo, hey, my name is Daniel G Harmmen, and I'm a songwriter, singer, composer from Seattle, Washington. I kind of started out doing singer-songwritery stuff, and then bigger, more epic post-rock things, and was in a band. And then when the pandemic hit, I started collaborating with a lot of artists, a lot of lo-fi artists, some hip-hop artists. And now I kind of do mostly that. I work with artists that I love and, put out a couple songs a month, but a couple songs every quarter, I guess, with different artists. I also had a pretty bad injury last year, so I recorded an ambient instrumental record because I couldn't sing or play guitar. So I've really fallen in love with synthesizers lately. I think that got kicked off by my injury, not being able to play guitar, doing a lot of stuff through VSTs. Then I wanted to get out of the box, and so I kind of explored synth land. So I have a couple synthesizers, but mostly I just like working with artists that are easy to get along with. I feel like I'm easy to get along with, and don't get my feelings hurt. So if something needs to be changed, I have no problem with that. I think that I ask the same kind of respect from the people that I work with. And so far it's worked out great. That's also my dog, Jack.
Now, Daniel and I do follow each other on social media, not just social media. We actually just recently hung out. They had a very good time, but he did reach out to me. I put out beats on my Instagram and here on my YouTube channel as well. And it was actually a beat that I put together within the Octatrack. Very simple because I'm still a novice right here on the Octatrack, so it wasn't a complicated beat, just drums, bass, and my sample. And something about this beat that I put out just clicked with him, resonated with him. I have no idea what Daniel heard with this beat that I put out, but he did reach out, said, hey, let's work on something together. And in a matter of a few days, we actually had this track that we put together. Now, keep in mind, Daniel's very different from my background, which I keep mentioning. Now, I think this is very key because there's no point for me to collaborate with somebody that has the same style of music that I do. So he was able to bring a completely different touch to the sound that I produce. Now, throughout the process, I did spoke with Daniel and I was like, you know what? Do whatever you feel that just resonated with you. Give me your ideas, send back a stem to me, and let's just kind of share ideas back and forth. Daniel's style is very spacious. You listen to his music and it takes you out of this world. It's not something that you'll hear and just, oh, this is cool. Like, it's an experience listening to his music. And I wanted to ask him myself, like, hey, Daniel, what did you hear with my beat that just clicked with your style? Let's actually hear it from him himself.
Something about this, and I really think it's just that the song had just some movement to it, which excited me. I'm always, when I'm programming drums or trying to figure out a drum part, always really interested in what makes the song move, like the ghost notes in the drums that I don't really understand because I'm not a drummer. So when I heard that, I was just really attracted to it, and I was like, I want to try to do something with this. And yeah, I'm glad I did because I'm so stoked on how the song turned out.
Now, it's funny that he mentions that because if you guys hear this track at the end of this video, make sure you guys go ahead and check it out. It's on all streaming platforms. You're going to hear that it's completely different from what we put out here on my channel. And I think that's what I took from this collaboration. It was an experience for myself because it brought a sound that I would never be able to produce myself. So jumping into my crazy Ableton mixing setup, when we were done, he'd send me a rough mix of what he had, his ideas, vocals, guitars, bass line that he put in this. That's when he kind of asked me, hey, do you want to mix it? Should I mix it? Should we send it out to get mixed? I was like, you know what? I'll mix it because I'm used to mixing. Well, I'm not used to mixing music now, but a few years ago, I would mix a lot of music. So I was like, I'll go ahead and take care of the mix, thinking it was going to be cake for me. But now I have Ableton. I do not have Pro Tools anymore, and I'm so used to mixing in Pro Tools. So when I said yes to the mix, I popped in the stems here in Ableton, and I was just completely lost. I was about to text Daniel back, telling him like, you know what, man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to mix it. I was just lost. Now, keep in mind, I do not have an acoustically treated studio space. If you guys can hear my voice, it's a lot of reverb here. It's a lot of echo. There's no paddings anywhere in this room. It's all floor, a square boxy room right here. And I think this is very important because a lot of the times we could fall into being perfectionists and say, you know what, no, I'm not ready to release music because I do not have the padding on my walls or the speakers that I need to have. This room is not acoustically treated to the perfect tone of whatever sound that you have. Me, I'm not a perfectionist. I'm the type of person that is like, you know what, I'll figure it out. We'll make it work. If it sounds like something that could be played in speakers, let's push it out. Now, real quick, this is not a how-to video on mixing in Ableton, and anybody that knows how to use Ableton will probably look at my setup and freak out. But you know what? We made it work, and this is kind of how I have everything right here. I got my drums up here. This is actually what I sent Daniel, which is going to be in the orange right here. Just my drums, my sample, a solo kick, one shot. And then Daniel actually started putting stuff together. This is what he sent me. I got my bass synthesizers here in yellow, and then I have a lead piano that he also put together. All the guitars, I put them in red, and I actually have them grouped together. And down here on the green, this is all the synthesizers that he has. And again, I grouped these together into a synth subgroup. And scrolling down in the orange, I have all the background vocals and I have those grouped up into their own background vocals subgroup. And at the very, very last track right here in red is the lead vocal. And I didn't put it in the background vocal subgroup. I wanted to have that on its own. Now, if we zoom in a little bit right here, we will see that I have some automation on a few of these instrument tracks and also on his vocal, but the automation I think is very powerful. Now, here's the thing. I'm a big standalone person. I preach that a lot here in my YouTube channel. When I'm in my MPC, I like to mix the sounds that I'm capturing and just kind of go with the flow. Now, when it comes down to mixing in the DAW, this is why I don't like to mix in the DAW anymore, but let's be honest, it's very powerful to have these tools, especially a computer mixing in a DAW, because you could get in here with all these details, automation. In the intro, I like to bring up the guitars, but then when his verse comes in, I'll bring down the guitars just a bit and have these automations be riding as the song is playing. Again, as that's going, his verse is going, right when the bridge comes in, we bring up those guitars to kind of give the presence and build up the song so the song is not just boom, 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 boom. We want to have some dynamics within the song so it can breathe, it can open up and close up and open up. Like there should be life in a mix, and that's something that I do enjoy when I would mix in a DAW. Now, real quick for his vocals, this is the vocals chain setup that I had right here, but I started off with a de-esser just to kind of work on the S's if they're a little too bright or too harsh. And then there's this EQ that's right here. This is the 8-channel EQ in Ableton, which is awesome. I did not use it. I just like to have it just in case I need to just dip out any frequencies that are not as good. But this actually sounded great. I just left it as is. Usually I like to dip out any annoying frequencies that we don't want to have before I get into compression and adding EQ and adjusting the certain sounds that I want to add to the vocals. After that, I come in with this compressor, the 1176 from UAD. This is such a bad, well, I mean bad, like it's a good compressor. This is a compressor that I use a lot on vocals, on lead vocals. It just sounds so good. And right after this compressor, I hit it with this other compressor, which is the LA2A. This compressor is a soft hitting compressor. It's not as strong. This is mainly, I'm using this a little more as a limiter just to kind of control the peaks. And this LA2A is just kind of compressing the entire voice to, honestly, it just thickens up the voice and it just feels a lot heavier. And now at the very end, I do add one more plugin, and this is gonna be an EQ. This EQ is the Pultec by UAD. This Pultec, this thing is awesome. I'm not big on, man, this sounds like a real Pultec. Man, I've never heard of real Pultec, nor do I care how a real Pultec sounds. My biggest concern is, does this sound good? And it sounds awesome. There's so many times where I just put a Pultec EQ, the UAD Pultec EQ, on a channel or on a kick or on a bass or a vocal. I don't do anything to the EQs or I don't do any adjustments, and it just thickens up the voice really nice. Right here, I actually did add at 1,000 hertz, boost it up a little bit and attenuate it a little bit. It just does something that I do not know how to explain, but it's very magical. It sounds really nice. And also at the 8,000 kilohertz, I boosted at least 1.5 dB, and this just brightens up the vocals, or I add some air to the vocals. It just sounds awesome. The Pultec EQ by UAD just sounds very good on anything, not just vocals, kicks, drums, anything you want to throw it on, it sounds awesome. Now, I do apologize, I am not playing back any audio. Make sure you guys go check out the song. I'll leave a link down in the description so you guys can actually hear the overall mix and the master of the song. It came out really great. Again, I was really scared mixing this, and I just did not know what I was doing in Ableton, but I did not try to overcomplicate things. I just want to make sure I was getting the right balance when it came down to levels and also the processing that I was going to add for vocals and also the drums and just the simple elements that he was putting in with the synthesizers and guitars. Now, I do want to say thank you if you actually made it to this part of the video for just hanging out with me and me being able to share with you my experience when it came down to putting this collaboration together. This was really fun experience. I highly recommend it for anybody that has other musicians that you are inspired by. Being able to collaborate and work together and just have different styles of sounds collaborating with what you're producing. I feel like that's very powerful, and that's something that I want to continue doing this year. Not just this year, but moving forward. I hope you guys took something out of this video. Make sure you guys check out the record down in the description. I'll leave a link to it. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'll catch you guys on our next video. Peace.